Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. I'm Chloe Rigby, editor of InternetRetailing.net, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Björn Borg Unleashes the Power of Data to Engage Customers, presented in association with Bronto. Over the next hour, we'll be hearing from Noella Guignon, e-commerce manager at Björn Borg, Kestrel Lehman, marketing strategist at Bronto, and Hakan Johnson, head of e-commerce strategy at Vaimo, as they consider in an in-depth conversation new ways that retailers can engage their customers and turn them into repeat buyers. Let's start off by telling you a little bit about our speakers today. Noelia is a digital marketer with more than 15 years' experience of working with some of Sweden's largest media companies. She moved into pure e-commerce in 2009 when she joined the Consortio Fashion Group. Since 2014, she's been both commercially and technically responsible for BjörnBorg.com. In her role as marketing strategist at Bronto Software, Kestrel Lehman works with international e-commerce clients to provide strategic advice and tactical guidance to make sure that email marketing programs drive both revenue and customer engagement. And Hakan Johnson, our third speaker, is e-commerce strategy manager at leading Magento solution provider Vaimo. He works with international e-commerce clients to give strategic guidance and tactical know-how to make sure that they are successful on e-commerce. Thank you to all of our speakers for being with us today. In a moment, we'll be hearing from our first speaker, Kestrel Lehman. But before I introduce Kestrel, let me explain how to ask any questions that you may have during the course of today's presentation. On the control panel on your screen, you'll see a chat box. Write your question in that box and press send, and we'll aim to answer as many questions as we can today. Just to let you know that after the webinar finishes, we will be sending out an email with a link so that you can watch it again whenever is convenient for you. So let's get started. I'm delighted to welcome our first speaker today, Kestrel Lehman, marketing strategist at Bronto. Kestrel, welcome.
Great. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar that we have going on. As mentioned, I am a marketing strategist over here at Bronto, and that simply means that day in and day out I work with our clients who are retailers in helping them form their campaigns, what things are going to look like, especially right now what we're going to be doing for Christmas, life cycle marketing, so on and so forth. What that boils down to is I need to really be able to understand the marketplace and wider e-commerce trends in order to help inform my clients. So for today's presentation, I thought it might be nice to just kick everything off by going through a few trends that I'm seeing as being particularly relevant across the EU and UK. So the ones I'm just going to mention here right now are personalization, mobile, and storytelling. Storytelling could also be a content strategy depending on who you're talking to. Now my fellow speakers are going to be hitting on these points as well, but I just had a few things that I wanted to say about them. So first up, personalization. I know that this word gets thrown around quite a bit along with CRM and segmentation and relevance and all sorts of other words. To me, I guess if I was to make that more understandable to the retailers that I work with, it's a matter of saying, you know, what content's going to make me want to click. And the straight generic content, that's kind of screaming in my face and says sale, 50% off now, or whatever it might be, that's all well and good, but I see that quite a bit. Whereas if you can give me a more personalized message, even if it is with an incentive or without an incentive, but it's something that I would be interested in, I'm obviously going to want to know more about that, and I'm going to have eyes on it. And for me, that's what personalization is. It's about forming the types of messages that you want to send to your audience based on what they've already told you about them. Now, we've seen this with retargeting, things like abandoned basket messages or simply segmented messages. I have found in the past that even segmenting by simple as gender, so just showing men's items and women's items, I've seen conversion rates improve 5 times over. So relatively, you know, not a huge level of sophistication and personalization, it's only based on gender, but made a huge difference as far as the bottom line. Up next, mobile. Now, I believe Noelia and Håkan both are going to touch on this, and I think we all know why. In the UK, we're seeing a third of sales come through a mobile device, and 90% of emails are seen at some point on a mobile device. Now, I mean, the long and the short of it is, hey, people are looking at their phones quite a bit. Now, lately, I'm not sure if it's because my poor eyes are giving out after looking at so many electronic screens for so long, or if, hey, time is just taking its toll. But I think that it's really important that at a high level you look at your messages, you look at your site on a mobile device, and you understand that people can read it, people can actually see it, and they're not sitting there squinting and pinching and pulling, trying to understand what your site says, because most people aren't going to put up with it anymore, especially a younger audience. What this really means at the end of the day is you need to work with organizations or hire internally for people who understand how to code responsibly. Obviously, there's a lot of really great people who understand how to code for HTML. It's a big difference between just coding for HTML and HTML on emails that's responsive. It's just a different skill set. So it's something that you're going to want to either train up your internal team or work with a partner that can do it. And then finally, storytelling, which we've seen, content strategy come into the forefront for years now, but I think that we're starting to see more of the return on investment here, at least with my clients, where I'm seeing more of their content-driven messages that don't have any promotional content are performing just as well as their promotional messages. And the reason why, one of the reasons why I think that the storytelling or content strategy can work so well when you have a good story to tell, a good content strategy, is because you stand out from your competitors. So we're seeing that obviously the e-commerce world is growing. We all know the numbers are up year on year for e-commerce revenue. That means that there's more competition. It means a lot of people are going to be doing big discounts. It means a lot of people are going to be yelling as loud as they can. Which means that the consumers are very savvy and they can choose whatever they'd like to. And if you don't have something that makes them stick longer than just another discount, then why would they want to come back and shop with you? So that's another key piece in the marketplace that I'm seeing that for my successful retailers, taking a hold of these things has been the key to success. But to talk a little bit more specifically about a brand that I think does an excellent job here, especially the storytelling, we're going to get into speaking to Noelia here in just a moment about Björn Borg. But Chloe, up first, I believe we had a poll.
We do indeed, and coming up on your screens now, you should see a poll, our poll for today. The question is, do you send responsibly designed emails? And there's a choice of answers, yes or no. So far, a third of you have voted, and I'm going to give it just a moment more so that as many of you can vote as possible. And you're now up to, so far, 66% have voted. So anybody else who'd like to take part in that, do now make your vote. And then I am going to close the poll. 75% of you have voted. I'm closing it, and I will share the results now. So, Kestrel, I don't know if you see that on your screen, but 76% have said yes, 24% no. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. You can imagine, I'm signed up for quite a few emails, so what I'm always shocked by is the lack of responsiveness, even from companies who are pretty advanced. But if, in fact, 76% of the attendees today do have a responsibly designed message, kudos, that's amazing. I think it'll help quite a bit. But it's still interesting to see that, that we saw the stats before, and still a fourth of the audience today still doesn't have a mobile responsive message. But no, great information.
That's great. I'm going to hide that poll now so that you can carry on with the presentation.
All right, great. Well, I think we're going to be now passing things over to Noelia.
Yes, thank you, Kestrel. I think we're showing now as well. I don't know how many of you know of Björn Borg, the tennis player, but for those of you who do not, I can tell you that Björn is a legend in himself. and a driving force that still earns him the record of most Grand Slam finals taken from an under position. His fighting spirit still lives in the company today, and we actually have a quote for him that says, "If you're afraid of losing, then you daren't winning." And it's that drive to win that's been with us from the start when we were established in the early 90s, becoming the leading fashion underwear company in the Nordics and later on Benelux, today sold in around 30 markets. Our strive is to create products that make you feel active and attractive. And in 2015, we took another step into the sports arena, transitioning the brand from underwear to a sports brand with a fashion edge. Björnborg.com, which is globally managed from our headquarters in Stockholm, Sweden, is the digital flagship store, serving both brand and commerce and aiming to be a digital experience boosting our brand values. Our markets primarily are in the mentioned order. I hope you see it now. Holland is the biggest for some reason, and Sweden is close behind. If you look outside of Europe, we are growing in North America. US is our 4th biggest market. And we're just about to launch in Australia now in November as well. The Björn Borg organization is divided into 4 segments and serve wholesalers, both physical stores as e-tailers, licensees for our product groups, footwear and bags, our own retail stores, and of course e-commerce driven from Björnborg.com. In our case, the complexity starts in our business structure. Even though our own e-commerce is in focus as of now, our largest business area is still wholesale. And if you, for instance, Google us, you will find a one-page of a variety of different communication and mostly different offers and mainly discounts. So how are we to create a premium brand aiming for a higher sell-through when price promotions are becoming more and more of a norm? Well, let me start explaining on how we look on every project, task, and goal, big and small. We actually have a framework for this, and the first thing we start is asking a couple of questions. First one is looking at where we want to go, and that's the road that skater is actually taking up that hill. And when we have established our where, we also look at where we are as a current. From there, we set the objectives of what we need to do to get to our where and how we should do them. Lastly, but mostly importantly, we determine also why we should do this. So we started defining our inspirational where, and that is to become the #1 sports fashion digital experience, boosting active and attractive. And we believe the way to reach our goal is to engage our consumers by adding a value beyond the store. And by this engagement, to be able to interact with them, to finally establish a more personalized communication that is not based on offers solely, but more to be a part of the Björn Borg tribe. To achieve this, we naturally needed a partner that we could team up with together regarding a top-class e-com platform, which we chose Magento for, but also an understanding to the complexity taking our business digitally from classical retail. Our choice landed on Vaimo, and I would now like to hand over to Håkan from Vaimo to tell you more on how to communicate with the modern consumer.
Thank you, Noelia. This is an illustration of the human brain, or the mind as I like to see it. And it's changing, and not the illustration, of course, but the mind of the modern consumer is changing. And it's actually new technology that is driving the change. It has changed the way we think, the way we feel, how we communicate, what we desire, and more specifically, how we buy. Engaging with the modern consumer is becoming increasingly harder and has become one of the biggest challenges that we, as marketeers, are facing. The modern consumer is stressed, and the midbrain runs the show, meaning that we are not so great with details, we're disastrous with math, we let emotions take control, and we only rely on our gut feeling. We will only get these people's attention for a very short moment before they turn their attention elsewhere. So as brands, we need to engage with them in the right moment, and of course, with a message that they feel is directed to them personally. Brand recognition is key to engage with these customers. If they don't recognize your brand instantly, they will not notice you at all, probably. The modern consumer is also self-absorbed. It's all about me, and myself. As consumers, we're taking the inside-out perspective. Just look at your Facebook feed, for example. It's your friends, your brands, your groups, and of course, pictures of you. When it comes to shopping, we are expecting a unique and tailored shopping experience based on my own personal preferences and my behavior. If these customers don't feel that the information is relevant to them, they couldn't care less about you and the message that you're trying to get through. So you better make it personal. The modern consumer is also skeptical, and they approach new things with quite low trust. They see through false advertising and mass marketing, but they're looking for what they feel is real and more genuine. And as human beings, we seek trust, and we want to be part of something. Brands who can act with a genuine and consistent personality will come out as winners, as consumers want to engage with brands they actually trust. The modern consumer is also mobile, and these often digital natives, they think, feel, and speak differently from the digital immigrants. They are always connected and are always available anywhere, anytime. And they expect nothing less from you. Also, these consumers don't think in terms of channels. They only know different touch points. So they expect to engage with brands in a way of their own choice. So brands must carefully choose what channels to be present in and ensure that consumers get a consistent brand experience regardless of the touch point the consumer has chosen. So the modern consumer is demanding and hard to please. It's no doubt about that. So what can you as brands do to engage with these customers? First, I think most brands have vast amount of customer data, statistical data like name, address, gender, and so on. They also have customer-generated data like product and order history. In other words, you actually, as brands, you actually know your customers quite well, I would say. So what you need to do now is to leverage all that customer data so that you can engage with the customers in the right way, in the right moment, and with a message that they feel is relevant to them. Next one, turning all one-time shoppers into repeat customers would, of course, be the dream of most brands. Yet most brands actually focus more on new customer acquisition than customer retention. A slight shift in focus towards your existing customers may turn out very successful, actually. These customers trusted you once, and they are likely to do it again if you treat them right. And if so, they will actually be the brand ambassadors, and they are the ones that will attract new customers. Because consumers trust other consumers more than they trust brands. Also, as human beings, we enjoy the feeling of being recognized, welcomed, and treated as individuals. As brands, on the other hand, we are aware that if we give these customers such a treatment, that will increase the customer engagement, and that in the long run will improve conversion. And not just one-time conversions, but also recurring conversion, which is the trick here. Providing a personal shopping experience is the key to gaining customer loyalty, basically. And last one, with the smartphone revolution some years ago, there was an enormous upswing in for email as a marketing channel. It has become a stable and valuable revenue driver that you can rely on, and email should be part of your marketing mix. Björn Borg has been using email email marketing as part of their marketing mix for quite some time now. And over the years, they have shown a steady growth curve and been quite successful in driving revenue by email. As they wanted to further improve their email marketing program, they realized that their current platform could not provide many of the key features needed to actually meet the expectation of this new modern consumer. So to be able to offer that great shopping experience that we were looking for, we defined 3 key requirements for the new email marketing platform. The first one, as a premium fashion brand operating in more than 10 different countries or key markets or center courts, as Noelia put it, brand alignment across all these markets is essential. It's just necessary to be seen as one international brand, regardless of what channel, device, or and how the customer choose to engage with the brand. So brand alignment is key. And also, email marketing is an outstanding channel if you want to move away from mass marketing to become more personal, which Noelia just told us about. It's relatively cost effective, delivery is instant, and you end up in your customer's personal inbox. And by becoming more relevant in your marketing and not wasting, actually wasting your customer's time, the ambition is to build brand loyalty and ultimately recurring conversion through this personalization. And to accomplish this, together with Noelia and the Björn Borg team, we realized that we need to leverage all the customer-generated data that we have in the e-commerce platform. So for us, it was utterly important that there is a seamless integration of the email marketing platform and Björn Borg's e-commerce platform. So let me tell you a little bit about the e-commerce platform. Today, Björn Borg is using the #1 e-commerce platform amongst the internet retailers' top 500 mid-market, Magento Enterprise Edition. They have a 40% somewhat market share in that segment. The feature-rich platform based on PHP provide you with great flexibility and functionality, saving quite much time and money over other systems, and can provide a really good significant return on investment. The open source platform is well supported by more than 4,000 community members, and they encourage a very, very strong echo network. And Magento is well known for the wide range of third-party extensions that allows you to expand the functionality of your platform. And by using these kind of extensions, you can also take advantage of pre-built integrations, for example, with service providers such as Bronto. Bronto offers a free extension that makes the integration really simple and effortless. Upon installing the extension and some minor configuration, which actually is all done from the Magento admin interface, you will see that data starts to seamlessly flow onto the Bronto platform. And the extension basically lets you import 3 types of data. First, it's your customer's data, information like name, address, and email address. And this is nothing extraordinary. I think most email platforms could probably do this. And if you only plan to send out marketing emails, this data would be enough to get you started. But with the Bronto extension, you can also import order history data. That is information about your customers' orders, like the order value, when and what products they actually purchased. And now it becomes more interesting, and you can actually start sending out emails based on what they're previously purchased. Last thing you import is product details or product data, like photos and product descriptions. So this allows you to add product information in your email really easy. And with the e-commerce and the email marketing platform fully integrated, you can let the email platform handle all types of email, not only the marketing emails. And for a brand like Björn Borg, this is essential so that they can ensure that emails are actually delivered and they know how they will look, regardless of what device or what client the customer is using. So Noelia, can you please tell us a bit more about your email marketing program and what kind of emails that you are currently sending out?
Yes, sure. Let's move into more of our learnings and results, which I'm sure you'd like to see. Since our where is to create a digital experience becoming a premium brand, we needed a powerful tool to be able to fulfill our focus of engage, interact, personalize. So after a long research period, we finally decided to end up with Bronto that we are now using since May of this year. We have a couple of 100,000 subscribers to our weekly newsletters with 2 mailings, and you see one of them now on the screen. Currently we send out on Mondays and Saturdays, and the Monday mail is more focused on the marketing activities, and the weekend mail is 100% sales. The marketing emails go out to our 12 local markets, and we also have a global site to cover the rest. And this means that we will send out close to 20 million marketing emails in a year. The primary objective when we started looking at a new strategy for our email marketing was to invest in a platform that had a rock-solid deliverability. With our previous partner, we experienced a variety of deliverability issues with the high percentage of bounces and not being whitelisted in major email clients. This naturally hurt our deliverability rate considerably, and the channel was rapidly declining in both growth and revenue. In other words, the complete opposite direction that we wanted. So if you look at some of the results now 6 months into collaboration with Bronto, we can clearly see that we are on the right track again. Deliverability is up by 75%. Opening rate is also up by 83%. We have an increase of 12% in more transactions generated from the newsletters, and the overall revenue is growing by 66%. Moving into the next part of our email strategy is the transactional emails. What you're looking at now, I think, is our old email. This is generated from Magento, and as you can see, it has all the credentials of a transactional email. This is an order confirmation, but it's not that funny to look at. It certainly doesn't align with our brand values, and you don't get a brand experience out of this. So during this month, we also switched to using Bronto, sending out our transactional emails. As Bronto let us deliver them with a spot-on brand feeling that Magento simply cannot do today. We know that these emails are the most open ones, so why not use them to establish a brand experience? So this is actually how it looks now. Order details and shipping info is fed into Bronto from Magento, and product images are coming from Adobe. And moving on, having Bronto to handle the transactional emails means that we can send full branded emails. Our customers will instantly recognize that this is an email from Björn Borg, building our brand awareness even further. Additionally, we benefit from the high deliverability rate, securing consumers actually receive this, because we know this is the email they probably want the most from us. And we also know if they open them that we get the same statistics as the marketing emails. In the near future, we'll look at also launching digital gift cards in the same way as this order confirmation. Final part in our sort of launch period with Bronto is that we started with the Welcome series. As personalization is our third focus to obtain our goal. And to start off, we wanted to create a unique brand introduction to new prospects. And Bronto's easy workflow setup was one of the strongest features, actually, why we chose to go with them. So first off is the Welcome series, and as you see here is the first communication in the workflow. We can communicate with the brand in an easy way, but still focusing on sales. That is essential. And through the Welcome series, we can present all aspects of the brand, including history, various campaigns. As you see here, there's a hit list with the bestsellers and different glimpses of the product range. To date, the Welcome series has an opening and click rate that has doubled actually to our standard marketing emails, as well as an above average conversion rate. So we look forward to continue working with these workflows to develop our message into more automated messages and also personalized content. And if you look at just the results as you have on the screen now, you see that the open rate has increased by quite a lot, 137% click-through rate. I mean, that's insane actually, 233%. Conversions up by 21%. And the revenue from the Welcome series is actually up by 217%. So we know that this is working, and that's why we will continue into more workflows. And this is how, to sum up, how far we've gotten with Bronto today. We have a brand alignment that's across all types of emails. You see first the marketing email, the transactional email, and the automated email with the Welcome series. And we know and we see that all of this is actually driving and increasing our sales. Yep. So what's next up for us? We have a few already in the works, and the first up is the Abandoned series. As we see, we have a lot of abandoned carts that are that we need to take action on. Second is the Purchase series, because of course when we have a Welcome series, we need to continue to be personalized with them. You don't just end up with welcoming them and then leaving it hanging. And thirdly, we are looking together with Bronto and our product recommendation engine to have triggered product recommendations directly into the marketing emails, so we actually get a more personalized message there as well. So that's all for me, and I think I am to handle over to Chloe now for questions.
That's right, and thank you all for very detailed presentations with a lot of interesting facts that I'm sure our audience will have been very interested to hear about. In a moment, we're going to have a question and answer session. Before we start in on that session, a quick reminder to anybody else who has a question on how to ask it. On the control panel on your screen, you'll see a chat box. Write your question there and press send, and we'll aim to answer as many questions as we can today. So let me start off with a question for all of you. I'll start by asking this to Kestrel. Kestrel, what do you identify as being some of the bigger trends of the past 2 to 3 years in digital marketing?
Yep, so that's something that we get asked about a lot, and probably depending on who you ask and where, you get probably a pretty different answer. But for me, since I'm focused mostly in the email world and retail world, for sure, I think some of the bigger trends definitely in the past 2, 3, 4 years is using more product data in the emails. So specifically referencing products that people purchase, then making recommendations or abandoned basket messages that have the product within them, just identifying messages with product-specific messages. Product-specific content I would say that that's something that's really caught fire more. I think that's probably due to the ease of use more than anything else. It's not something a developer necessarily has to code anymore. So I would say that's one of the trends. Håkan, you got anything?
Yeah, I think like looking at e-commerce in general, one of the biggest trend that we've seen coming for last couple of years now is the shift to mobile, which also affect your marketing. We see clients that 2 years back had maybe 10-15% of the traffic coming from mobile devices. They now have up to 70% of all the traffic, and only 30% desktop traffic. And what's so fascinating about that is that still, though, even if you have like close to 30% of the traffic coming from desktops, normally you would have 50 to 60% of all the revenue still coming from desktop devices. So there's a huge gap between mobile sales and mobile traffic, and that is something that we as e-commerce consultants is looking into, how we could bridge that gap and make sure that mobile revenue is closer to the mobile traffic. So that is one of the biggest trends that we are seeing.
That's great. And Noelia, from your position at the cutting edge itself, what do you think are the big trends that are affecting your business in terms of digital marketing?
I think looking at traffic, we are more going from bot traffic actually to unpaid traffic in terms of organic search and social commerce. Because I mean, Google it's getting quite expensive, and we need to find new solutions there to actually have profitability and to grow. Apart from that, what Kestrel and Håkan said, of course, and obviously personalization, which I've been talking about. I think you need to have a more personalized impression when you go into an online store, just as you do in a physical store. And I think the consumer will demand that coming on.
That's great. Now, our next question, I think, is another one for you to start off with, Noelia. How should you market differently to millennials? Is that a core part of your audience? Do you have different tactics, or do you find that the similar solutions fit all?
Yeah, I think what I was sort of touch basing there before, moving more into social arena. I think we need to be better there to engage them and to be able to interact with them on their terms, and to be up to speed on all the new, for instance, like Snapchat, to be first there and to communicate on their terms. I think that's the big difference.
That makes sense. Håkan, what do you think?
I think we touched it during this presentation, but they are used to, millennials are used to having it their way, and you got to be relevant, and you got to find new ways to engage on their terms. So as marketeers, I think you need to be creative. You need to find new ways, and that is, of course, a bit tricky. But going down the same road that we've done for all times, I don't think that will work in the long run. You need to find new ways.
That makes sense. Kestrel, any thoughts from you on marketing to millennials?
Oh, well, Noelia, Håkan, you guys did a great job. I agree and concur with everything you've said there. I would say this is tough. This can be a tough one to kind of wrap my head around, but not just millennials, but even like Generation Z, like the generation that comes after millennials. But to have your status quo be that you always have had a phone, you've always been connected, you've been looking at adverts online and email marketing your entire life, and almost that's just like your consciousness. That's what you're naturally doing. And so to see, just to have those higher expectations, and if somebody, to Håkan's point, if you lose your relevancy by being boring or by marketing to millennials the same way you would maybe market to boomers, or just it makes you seem as if you're not with it, as if you can't, almost like you can't be trusted in a way. And I think just getting into that mindset is really important. I normally have to take a step back and kind of think, okay, well, what if this was just completely commonplace, more commonplace to me every day? And it's things like that.
That makes sense. That's great. Crystal, staying with you for the next question. Are there any brands that you particularly admire for the way they do things? Well, what are the brands that you reference quite a bit?
Well, I do have, well, because I look at them all the time, I do reference quite a few customers, so full disclosure, customers. Things like Not on the High Street, clients like Not on the High Street, they're a marketplace, and they do a great job with really innovative creative. They also have a really strong sense of community, which I like quite a bit, and they're really inventive, so they know how to tell a story. So that's a client I look at quite a bit in kind of the gifts lifestyle sector. I also look at Björn Borg, definitely. I like to see how there's kind of a multi-channel approach there, and that the brand story is being told across those. And let's see, the other that is my up and comer that I think it just does such a great job is Hudson Shoes. Been working with them now for about 3 years, and two and a half years, and they do a great job of developing their own unique story as well. So there's a lot of shoe companies in the world, but Hudson is able to, again, tell a story that makes me want to look and has a great product. So those are a few brands I look at quite a bit.
That's great. Noelia, what about you? Are there any, I don't know, competitor or people in a different sector that you look at their emails and you admire how they've done it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we look a lot at Nike and what they're doing in their digital communication overall, but also Victoria's Secret, and I think Net-a-Porter is doing a quite good job email-wise as well. I think those are my top 3. Just
that's great, thank you. Perfect. And Håkan, what about you? Who do you think is doing a good job?
Yeah, there are a couple of brands that I look at. Just to mention 2 of them, Bonobos, which is the online fashion retailer in the US. They only have these kind of showrooms, and where you go and try out your clothes, and then they refer you to their online store. I think they in general are doing a great job with marketing. But one brand in particular that I like is Warby Parker, which is the designer eyewear company. Mm-hmm. And they have a really cool feature in at least one of their stores. I think they have it in a couple of stores. They have something they called their photo booth, where you can actually go in, take an old classic photo booth, where you put on the glasses you want to try, and you take some pictures, and then you can email them to your friends or post in social media. Although those email doesn't look that good, I think the feature itself is really great, and I think they could do a bit more about that. But still, it's a creative idea on how to use email from in-store to get the omni-channel perspective going.
That's great. Thank you all for those. And staying with you, Håkan, do you have any recommendations on how to keep messaging consistent?
Yeah, I think this is a question about your brand, actually. And as a brand, you would need some sort of personality, and in all your communication, that personality should stick out. And you should be able to see right away to get to know the personality. So I think create a like good brand personality and stick with that.
That makes a lot of sense. And Noelia, you showed us a few emails that you've brought out as a series almost. How do you approach that job of keeping the message consistent? How important is that?
I think what Håkan said. I mean, it's you need to show that personality in all channels, and I think it's maybe even tougher in digital channels because you actually don't have a physical person next to you that can sort of tell the brand story. But also, I mean, simplicity. I mean, don't overdo it. I think, yeah, straightforward and simple.
That's great. Kerstin, do you have anything to add there on consistent messaging?
No, Noelia, Håkan, again, great. Couldn't agree more. I would say that with my teams, sometimes it comes down to simple team logistics too. So if that means maybe everybody taking some time out to come together and understand what the brand story really is and what's acceptable and not acceptable. A lot of brands, of course, have brand books, but I do think that it's important to sit down and maybe talk about what is our tone of voice, what is the template we want to go back to over and over again, what are the main goals that we want to get to, and as that, now that might sound like maybe a soft skill or something that might not show an immediate return on investment. I think that by people getting together in the same room, having that conversation, hashing that out can actually really smooth over communication for the rest of the year.
That's great. And then staying with you, Kerstin, personalization. You mentioned that right at the beginning of your presentation, but do you have advice on any, I don't know, quick wins that you can achieve using personalization?
Mm-hmm. Well, you might laugh, but this is one that, so again, I'm signed up for, I don't even know how many hundreds of emails from different retailers all over the world. And sometimes it's just about keeping things simple. So oftentimes I still see in an email that they were supposed to have my first name field, but they forgot it, so now it's blank. So it'll be dear blank, comma, blank blank, welcome to da 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 da. So it was clear that they were supposed to have my name in there, but they didn't ask for my name, and they didn't think that, oh, people who don't have their name, they're not going to get it. So that's automatically, it's, oh, a robot's talking to me. There's not a seamless thing there. And then another one, and that's a simple one to fix. Like if there's no name field, then change the salutation. Another simple one is, birthday information. So if I give out my birthday details, and I give out my birthday details all the time to retailers, and every year for my birthday, I only get maybe 1 or 2 birthday messages from retailers. It boggles my mind. And of course, I'm speaking outside of my client base, who all have, perfect birthday triggers always set up. But on the whole, it's little things like that only take a matter of moments to really set up or test, even just to make sure they're working right. Of course, we can talk about really fancy personalization, and I couldn't be more excited for that. But crawl, walk, run. I'd really like for people to, dot their I's and cross their T's first.
That sounds like a good plan. Håkan, what do you think? Personalization, are people using it well? And what quick wins can we get?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's a quick win or not, but Noelia touched it briefly in what's next here. And they are doing something really interesting, and that is that they are implementing product recommendation, personalized product recommendations, together with the recommendation engine Nosto, into their emails. So you will get, because normally, like, we're using that on the site as well, and it works really well. And so when you visit the site, you will get these kind of personalized product recommendations. But now we also put that into the emails, and that is something I'm really looking forward to see how that will turn out. I'm pretty sure it will actually drive quite much revenue. So maybe it's not a quick win, but like in the long run, what you can win with personalization is revenue, more revenue, I guess.
That's a lot to think about, definitely. And Noelia, was that a quick win, or do you have any other advice on personalization?
Well, yeah, both Castrell and Håkan has had excellent points on personalization, but maybe also looking from our view, for instance, I mean, we had a decent database that we didn't know too much of, like Castrell said, like blanks, because we don't have like first name or so. But maybe just to start segmenting based on shopping history instead of sending a mass email out to everyone. Actually look at what they purchased. For instance, if you have, in our case, then feminine products, maybe they don't want the boxer briefs every week because they obviously haven't purchased them. So I think that's just a quick win in looking at the shopping history.
That makes a lot of sense, definitely. Great. And staying with you, Noelia, can you tell us a little bit about your best performing email message or email series?
Well, email series, we only just started, so obviously it's the welcome series. I think that's a good way for us to have an introduction to new clients or prospects. I mean, we're still growing, so most of our traffic is still new. So this is the perfect way for us to sort of communicating with them and sort of converting them into actually customers. But if we look more at actually best performing message marketing wise, I would say it's the ones that are product focused and maybe not that long. It's more focused on one product category, maybe even just one product with like great visuals. That's usually the ones that perform the best.
That's interesting. Thank you. And Håkan, what do you think other retailers can learn from Björn Borg and its experience?
Yeah, what Björn Borg has done really well is, I think, what we've shown you today here, and it's the brand alignment across all kinds of emails. Before using Magento to send out the transactional emails, it's really hard to make them look as good as it does when you're using an email marketing platform to do it. So I think the brand alignment here, they come across as one brand regardless of what email you're looking at. So I think that's it, the brand alignment.
Great, thanks for that. And Castrell, any thoughts on main takeaways that other retailers can learn from Björn Borg?
Well, I mean, for me, I think that Björn Borg has an enticing image, and I think that would only happen from them going back and questioning. Okay, are we cool still? Are we still doing things that are interesting? Are we still relevant? It's one thing to be named after a famous tennis player. It's another thing to be named after a famous tennis player that hasn't been playing for the past several years, right? So now, if you have this millennial generation, this Generation Z, how do you get them to look at your brand and think that it is relevant and interesting? And I think that they've done a good job of going back and questioning themselves and saying, look, we're going to update the artwork. We're going to make sure to stay on top of things and have a really solid look. And I know that can be scary as a brand, and it can also be an investment. But again, it's those who make that investment, just like they have in having going with specific partners to be able to increase their deliverability and do the workflow automation and do the recommendations. It's all to stay on that cutting edge so that they're still relevant to their audience.
That's great. And Björn Borg, Noelia, can you tell us a little bit more about the cart abandonment series that you mentioned in your presentation? Are there any details that you can share with us at the moment?
Well, not that much as we're still building it, but I mean, it will be based on the same principles as the Welcome series. We're building a premium brand, and I think we've seen solutions where you expect a promotion actually when you abandon your cart, and you sort of wait for that promotion before you purchase, and that's certainly not what we're going to do. We're going to do it a much smarter way, and more like focusing on service. So I think that's about it, what I can tell you now, but hopefully in a few months I can share more with you.
That's great, and we'd love to have you back to talk about it then. Well, that was our last question, so I'd like to say thank you to all of you who've taken part to listening to this webcast. I'd like to thank our speakers, Noella Guinan, e-commerce manager at Björn Borg, Kerstin Lehman, marketing strategist at Bronto, and Hakan Jobson, head of e-commerce strategy at Vaimo. Thank you all for taking part today. We'll also follow up by email with a link to the on-demand webinar, which you can listen again to at your convenience. So thank you once again for taking part in this webcast in association with Bronto. Thank you.